Alright, so considering we got the nerfs, I was pretty much expecting, to be completely honest with you. We got Psychic Link damage nerfed from 40 to 30, and then we got this weird buff. It's very interesting. Um, so I've been doing more testing, and I honestly still think that this build is the best M plus build that I've been able to test and feel out so far. Um, this other build I have saved is probably the only other thing I think that comes close to it in my mind. Um, which doesn't have Void Eruption. It's DA. It's also Mind Spike. It's very interesting. Maybe not a playstyle everybody would like, but it definitely works. Um, so I have a few things to look at. I took some. I forgot to record the other day, but we were doing some testing, and I just wanted to show some of the damage breakdown, some overall numbers stuff. It is important to keep in mind that we are scaled to 410 item level still. So even though this says like 419 and stuff, that's not true. He's definitely not 427. That'd be impossible. We are scaled to 410 in all these dungeons. So this is running the this build, and again, like I've said before, when I talk about this build, is that very reliant on crit. So using corrupting rage, crit trinket. I try to grab the crit buff from this. And everything else on my gear is still haste mastery, and I still get a good amount of crit without sacrificing too much stuff. You can see here, this was like a trash pack. This is kind of what the breakdown looks like. You can see Vampiric Touch is very high, along with Shadowy Apparitions. And of course, our Psychic Link is, and this is with the nerfed version of Psychic Link still. So I do want to talk about that. I think that this Psychic Link nerf actually makes this build that I'm going better. Because what it means is that like this build, which specs more into Mind Spike and stuff, which is supposed to feed into your Psychic Link, right? That theoretically all got nerfed. So did Insidious Ire and Cleave and all that sort of stuff, right? So like all that Cleave got nerfed. So the only way you would like theoretically try to avoid the nerf is if you tried to focus on our other aspects of AoE damage, which would be our straight up dot damage, which in this build you're not taking 2 points of Dark Evangelism, so that would help all of your dot damage. And it would also help your Psychic Link and single target damage because it would affect the DP. But you need to be focusing if you're trying to avoid the Psychic Link nerfs or like try to minimize them. And I think this is the best way to do it, so that you maintain as much damage as possible, is to focus on the dots and spirits, because those are going to be those are our AoE options that have not gotten nerfed. So that's really, I think, where the focus should be in terms of where you're going to be able to get all your damage from. Yeah, so this 20, I mean, this one was a little scuffed, but I mean, you can see I still did um comparable damage, and this is the overall. So this is an important overall to look at because you can see, and this is all on fort, by the way. This is not tyrannical. But you can see that DP is still very high, and this is again with the 30% psychic click nerf active. So this is accurate information. This is the full 20 under that we did. Um, you can see that all these three are pretty even, and they're all still pretty close to psychic. Like, so these four are really our biggest damage here. Now, I mean, even this is like a lot of this was on like bosses and stuff. But I mean, it yeah, I just DP hits really hard. So even on AoE, like this is from Underodd. So even on AoE, right? The overall DP is still so high up there. And I think the reason that is because like the builds a lot of these people recommend um don't grab like void touched or distorted reality, which is like so much. It's 26% increase. That's over a 25% damage increase for your devouring blade, which is like your hardest hitting ability. So like a lot of these builds that are like recommended by people, like don't grab like both of these, and in fact I'll grab Mind's Eye instead of Sword Reality, which I don't like. I think this is absolutely crazy. And as you can see, these three are not none of these got touched by the nerfs. So trying to scale these damage, and again, even Shadow Word Pain counts because it's just a dot. So scaling the dot damage, Void our Thing from Beyond got Omega buffed, so I mean this is just like required talent now. But and yeah, you can see Shadow Word Death, Mind Blast, and everything else kind of just trickles down from there. Oh yeah, I was trying this new weapon enchant, and this thing sucks. Do not use this. This thing's terrible until it gets buffed. If you grab the longer DP, would it be better to tab target around? Yes, I have done that. It's only worth to do it in your CDs when you're in Void Eruption, because otherwise you're losing the ignite thing with DP, so you're like losing DP damage, which just isn't worth it. During CDs, during Void Eruption, when all your targets have maximum mastery value on them, no matter what, it is worth it. But when you're outside of CDs, it's not worth it to do it because you're going to be missing out on the effect is reapplied. You want it to reapply rather than on a new target because if you reapply it, you maintain your mastery. But if if DP drops on the target or you just DP a new target, you're not getting essentially you're going from 30 to 48. So you're going from a 48% damage increase to your DP to a 32% damage increase to your DP. So you're losing 16% damage when yeah, the stacking damage is just so that overriding DP doesn't make you lose any DPS, but the mastery value is why you want to refresh it on the same target, unless you're in void form only, because void form gives you maximum mastery value on all targets. But anyway, back to talking about this. Yeah, you can see the kind of where our AoE is coming from here. And it's just it's strong. I will say the cycling nerfs do kind of lower the value of Death Speaker for AoE. I think this is still a very strong single target talent, but you know, the value of this talent goes down in AoE. I still think it's incredibly strong. I mean, you can see in this one, it's still like you're hitting 105k crits and it's psychically cleaving, and even on single target fights, like I think I mean, death is like 4%. Oh, well, this isn't even a death. You don't even get to death this boss because of how Unbound Abomination works, because his HP never gets low enough. So this is pure Death Speaker procs. None of these were casted in the actual execute window. And you can see it's pretty much it's 500k. It's pretty much a free Void Torrent. So I mean, the talent seems pretty insanely strong for single target and then also in AoE. Spore Caller, I died on Spore Caller because I was testing. Remember this one? Yeah, it's even higher when you do actually get real execute value on it too. So again, yeah, I think this is still a very strong talent. Yeah, back talking about this. So the Mastermind buff is something that I was testing and actually seemed to be the only thing that could compete with my other build. So we just did this Vortex Pinnacle. As you can see, the overalls, I did slam. Again, this was a plus 20 with like Fortified, Entangling, Afflicted, something like that. You can see the overall is a little bit different. You can see Mind Blast jump way up. It actually, like, you see the average Mind Blast fast. First of all, I had 133k crit, which is absurd because I was running this build. This is the build I ran for this dungeon. You see it's DA, Ancient Madness, Mastermind. I go Ire. I don't take any of these. You can see my DP damage dropped significantly. You can see just the comparison here. So you can see my apparition. The percentage is what we care about here because the actual damage number is going to be different. So my psychic damage went up because you are playing DA. That's gonna happen every time. Everything else is lower compared to the other version. The thing to keep in mind is that Mind Blast here had an average hit of 26k per cast, and the Mind Blasts on this one were 51k, which is huge. You can see Mind Blast is my third highest on this one. On this dungeon, it's It's number 8. And same thing with death here. I don't know if death is any higher on this one. It's about the same. And we can see Mind Spike Insanity here. My Think from Beyond. So this is a very important thing to note as well. When you do this build, which spawns less spirits, you get less Things from Beyond. Where did... Okay. You can see that one did like 7%, and this is 5.8. So, I mean, the hell is my details is bugging right now. So I need to get rid of this train. Maybe someone's putting in combat or something. So yeah, so the thing that I wanted to test was I think that the new Mastermind changing from giving 13 to 25 crit damage to 20 to 40. I mean, 40 crit damage is crazy. Now, I would want to kind of try playing this on Void Eruption because I think Void Eruption would kind of be like a middle ground between these two builds. I'd want to see how that would play out. Your Mind Blast definitely wouldn't be hitting as hard. But you'd still be spawning more spirits, which would kind of help the Thing from Beyond damage. And yeah, it might just be good enough because I'm really trying to weigh the value of Mastermind versus Screams of the Void. And also like Mind Spike and these talents. And single target on this build felt a little weird at times if you didn't have good procs. Even though I topped on all bosses. Anyway, yeah, so this getting changed up to 40% crit strike damage. Again, with this build, if we're already, in my opinion, going to try to stack crit, and we do this, you get 40% crit damage on Spike, on Mind Blast. And this would work on Mind Flay as well, so I mean, you could just drop these two talents and still play it the other way. It seems like a very strong competitor now that it got buffed by that much, but I'm still not entirely sure if it's going to be better than the Void Eruption version. I will say, though, this build, I think it'd be a way better Pug build. I think it's a lot more forgiving, a lot less punishing. Honestly, can you? No, you can't. Okay. It's bursty. It's way better. You know, if you fuck up, like it's not a huge deal. It's very forgiving. I think this build that I played in the Undera, this one, is stronger at the top end. It just ramps. So you would lose a lot of if packs are dying too quickly or your tank is pulling weird or like not pulling big or chain pulling or something, or like doing weird stuff. If it's not organized, this build will do worse than the other build. But I think in like the best case scenario, this build I think cranks way too hard. It scales very nicely. It ramps really hard in big AoE. It's just hard to compete with this one, I think, right now. So going Mind Spike replaces Mind Flay, yeah. So they changed it so that this talent gives you like the Mind Flay Insanity, Mind Spike Insanity thing, and then you have into Mind Spike that would replace Mind Flay. So like this talent works for both, whether you talent this or not, and then this is for Mind Spike only. Yeah, so these were some of the things I grabbed. This was a single target on Sky Captain Craig, you can see. I don't remember exactly how much the DPS was there, but I know I was top. You can see it in the picture, but I mean, this is playing this Void Eruption build, by the way. Sword Reality and everything like that. So you can see our Thing from Beyond still hits hard. Shadowy Apparition is number 3. Vampiric Touch is 4. It's like all these are quite even around this area. So I mean, it looks pretty solid. This is a little bit of a better picture I was able to grab. So you can see that this was a pull we did. We did end up, I think we pulled something into it like towards the end, and then we just decided to wipe it or something like that. But this was a legit pull. This wasn't, none of this is like cheesed numbers or anything like that. This was an AoE pull. Just I don't remember if this was our lust or not. I don't think this was. So this wasn't even a lust pull, but I mean, you can see I was doing towards the end of the pack. I was doing a like 300k. And again, you can see that spirits ramps very mainly. Um, and VT, Shadow of Pain, like Void Spike, like all these things are spirits based and dot based. Void Spike is tied to how many spirits you spawn, and then if you want to spawn more spirits, you would want them to crit to do more damage because you're already spawning them. VT, I mean, yeah, I mean, dots just hit so hard. Screams of the Void makes them so much better. I mean, everything else was just really kind of, it just hits. I mean, I was fucking obliterating that pack. It looks very nice. And this is, again, with the 30% Psychic Link nerf active. So, I mean, we are still still looking very, very good. What is this? Is this from the Underrot? I think it's from the Underrot. Yeah, I don't need this. Yeah. So with our main secondary stats, we stack Still Be Haste Mastery with a bit of crit. Yeah, so I kind of talked about that in one of the other things. I'm pretty sure like so the way I'm doing it, and I think it's enough crit, is the crit flask and just crit trinkets is literally all I have, and the rest of my gear is still statted haste mastery and gemmed haste mastery, except for like these random pants that, I mean, I have these pants on live, so yeah, and these are all still haste mastery gear. The tier, I think the tier actually has a fair bit of crit on it. Yeah, like this chest has a lot of crit. This has some crit. I think the legs have, no, the legs don't. Okay. And then yeah, so I think you would want to actually mix in some crit with the gear. I don't know how much. Like I said, I'm able to get away with doing this and then double crit trinkets. Like if I proc that like 36% crit, right? Like with CD, like on pull with CDs, like this is my PI lost blah blah, 36% crit. And that's literally just with, and this isn't even with this crit either, which would be another 900. So it's probably like 42% crit, something like that. Don't know if this is online. I remember reading that Thing from Beyond isn't cleaving. No, Thing from Beyond is cleaving, but it's just displaying it all as one text. It's kind of hard to explain, but it is still cleaving. This thing fucking work. You can see it has an average hit of like 12k. It has big hits, so like it still hits. It just like, yeah, it's like weird, but oh yeah, you bought a bunch of the fast while they were cheap. Yeah. Actually, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, it is a little dangerous from this flask because you take the dot, but it'd be nice if we were able to take it. Maybe on high keys you might not be able to, but it shouldn't be a huge deal, I don't think. But yeah, that's the most recent nerf stuff. I mean, we're still looking pretty juicy, to be honest. Our single target obviously didn't get touched, and I think our single target's fine. And our AoE, we still crank on AoE, man. I'm telling you, it's a little crazy. Would it be worth it to get someone to trade you the dice trinket since it's agi? I mean, this one? Absolutely not. Yeah. You're not gonna lose almost 500 main stat. No. Never. The only reason people did that with the Whetstone, if that's what you're thinking about, is because Whetstone has mastery on it, and everyone benefits from mastery.